You're listening to the I Have Dreams Dammit podcast, a podcast about the realities of pursuing our dreams. I'm your host, Lisa Murray, and let's get ready to go.
Live from Los Angeles, California, this is the Lisa Murray Show, and with your host, Lisa Murray.
The day I felt like I really started living.
I don't have enough money to start this business.
I'm so tired. I hate it. I'm working all the time.
I'm not inspired when I'm worried about money.
Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all.
I'm so sick of all these positive people talking about dreams. What about money? Like, how am I supposed to get the money?
What it's really about, it's about you pursuing what makes you come alive. It's about continually connecting with that energy and just keep doing that. Keep going towards that. That's what it's about. You need to give up. There's too many obstacles. I can't take this shit anymore. Ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for.
It feels really good to be my own boss.
I have dreams, damn it!
How are you guys? I have missed you so much. I missed a couple weeks, but once you find out what this week's show topic is, it's actually really ironic. When you are starting out, it's really important that you have what it is that you want really articulated in your mind. You know, you have to picture this stuff perfectly clear, like the law of attraction, really actually picture it. And sometimes the image of what we want comes to us so clearly that that's not a problem. We've always seen, like, I know exactly what kind of donut shop I want to open, or I know exactly the kind of website business I want. And sometimes we have to kind of work at that image. It's not always crystal clear. We have to really kind of articulate it and work on it. And so once we get that idea of what our dream is, that's really the ideal, and that's the thing that we're going towards. Once you go towards it and you've got all the obstacles and all the problems and everything that I've talked about in all the other episodes, you're going to at some point start to achieve your dream and you're going to live your dream. And that's great. But one thing that happens once we start living our dream is that sometimes we get disillusioned because the reality of our dream is very different than the feeling of what it was we thought it was going to be. Because there's no way you can know what it's going to be like until you do it. And that's under perfect conditions, like it's still going to be different. But what if it's like, you know, right when you start to achieve your dream, then there's a slump, like you want to be a realtor and then there's a slump in the real estate market. Or, you know what I mean? Like there's things that happen that are outside of your control, some type of world catastrophe or something happens that changes the climate. There's no way you could have known that ahead of time. But we need to learn to reconcile what the dream is inside of us, in our hearts, in our mind's eye, and what it actually is, what it lives like in our lives. And some of it is kind of like unavoidable because it's like, this is just what it is. What are you going to do about it? Like maybe it's just a hard part of your dream. And it's something that you need to learn to accept and work through. But some of it is not necessarily the way it has to be. And it's up to us to go back to the blueprint of our dreams and figure out what's going on here. How is it getting away from the thing that we pictured? Is the thing that we pictured a little bit unrealistic? And this is now the realistic version of the dream, and so we need to make adjustments? Or is it a case of maybe there's some things that we need to tweak? Maybe there's some aspects to it that we didn't know about until we started doing it, and we need to add that to our dream. So, for instance, being an entrepreneur is a great thing. You get to work for yourself. And when you're working in a job where you go to work every day, the idea of working for yourself is like a dream. You're like, oh my God, I could set my own hours and I could be my own boss and I could be the only one that's responsible for things or whatever. And it's great. But then when you're a couple years into it, you know, you're exhausted and you never have a feeling of fulfillment. I'm just guessing. I'm not saying this is true for people who are entrepreneurs, but you know, a lot of times it does happen to us. I'm an entrepreneur, and it does happen because there's something that we didn't set up ahead of time. We thought we'd always want to be doing this thing that we love. So we do it 24/7, especially now with our cell phones and stuff. We do our jobs whenever. We're always working. And it's great because you love it, but we all need a break. We all need that break. And that is the one thing I can say that's good about the times that I worked in an office job or I had other jobs is that you got those weekends off or you got those days off. As a matter of fact, it's a law. Like they can't allow you to work after a certain amount of hours. And so even if you were gung-ho about your job, some manager, somebody would come down on you and be like, yeah, you got to take a vacation day. So that is a real thing that happens. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're the one that's responsible for you having a vacation day. And if you don't give that to yourself, you're not going to get it. And a lot of us don't give it to ourselves because we either don't think we need it until we completely burn out, or we are always trying to make it with our business. And maybe, it's hard. Maybe we're not there yet. We're not in a position where we can just take time off. But you have to, because if you don't, you will burn out. We have to take time off. And it's the whole sharpening of the saw. Like you're still trying to cut down the tree using the saw and you're just pushing harder and harder and harder and harder. You're going to get so much more done if you stop. And it's counterintuitive, but stop. Sit down, sharpen that saw, then get back to the tree. Let sometimes time just sharpens us. We're the saw, sharpening is sometimes time. Sometimes it's just doing something that's fun. It's doing stuff with friends. So, it's important to have that time off. And if we don't build that time off into our dream when we're constructing it in our blueprint, then we start to burn out and we don't know what's going on. Because we're like, what happened? I thought I was totally happy. I thought everything was great. This is what I wanted. I guess it isn't really what I wanted. That's not necessarily true. This is where it gets dangerous because a lot of times there's people in our lives who don't want us to pursue our dreams for whatever reason. And they're not the kind of people you want to be around when you're getting tired or when you're getting disillusioned, because you need someone that's also pursuing their dreams or that's also busting their butt towards something that they're trying to get that may be in the same vein of what you're trying to do. And they might say to you like, hey, are you taking time off? Like, what are you, how are you? They might say something you didn't even think about. You're like, I haven't even thought about that. That's the kind of stuff that we need. We need people outside of us to help us with that. But a person that's not pursuing their dreams or that doesn't want you to pursue yours for whatever reason, this is when they're going to give you really bad advice. And this is why you have to be careful during this time because you're going to be tired. This is a time when you need good advice. You need someone that says, what's really going on? Let's pull out the blueprint. Let's look at your dream. Where are the weak points in this building? Like if you're building a building and something isn't, solid and it's not, if it's wobbly or something, you're not going to just say, oh, the whole thing is shit. The whole thing is, scrap the whole thing. You're going to actually really try to refigure it all out. Like, are you using the right length of screws and the right diameter of screws? Are you using the right compounds for different things? I don't know. I'm not a builder, obviously. But, are you using all the right materials for this project? Or, maybe you need to update some parts of it, different types of wood or thickness of wood. And so for our dreams, we need to just revisit it and just make sure that we're using all of the right components that will help build our dream. So, for instance, I keep using the time off thing because that's probably the most obvious, but there's many other things, many other ways that we can build these things into the blueprint of our dream that strengthen where we're coming from and what we're doing. Because it's our dream and it's supposed to make us happy. So if you're doing something and it doesn't make you happy and you feel exhausted and you feel yucky and all that kind of stuff, then you got to revisit the blueprint. You got to go back. You got to figure it out because something's wrong. Something got into the ointment. There's something wrong somewhere because that's not a dream then. I don't know what that is, because a dream is actually something that it does push you and you do get pushed out of your comfort zone, but ultimately you feel really good about it and you feel like you're growing. And you feel like you're contributing to society and you just feel really good. You feel really good. That's what it should feel like. So if it doesn't feel like that, something's wrong. Another thing about being in business for ourselves, especially if we're artists, is the whole money part of it and business part of it, just dealing with clients and either getting clients initially or the whole management of the client through the whole project. And then if the client doesn't like the project or doesn't like the outcome of something that you did, maybe they're not good at explaining to you what they don't like. Maybe they're really rude about it. Or maybe, I don't know. The thing is that is another part of it. That is another whole nother part of a lot of people give up and they never even want to do it. Ultimately, I'll tell you right now, I bet you many artists are not business people because of the dealing with the clients part of it. That's it. And I bet you there's a lot of people that could be really great business people if they tried, but it does change you, and sometimes it changes you for the better. And I think sometimes it kind of changes you for the worst, to be honest with you. That's why you have to constantly check it, revisit it, make sure you're setting up the business that you want to set up. Like, for instance, for me, I'm learning that there's certain types of clients that it's not worth it to me. I'd rather not have their business because I don't feel like there's a fit. And it's really important to me that I feel like I'm getting something out of it as well. And not just money, but, because the other stuff will totally drain you. As an artist, we are our feelings. We are what we feel and all that stuff. So if we drain out because we're dealing with, people that are difficult to deal with or that are rude or passive aggressive or whatever, it actually affects you as an artist. It will eventually, affect you so much that you may even want to stop doing what you're doing altogether. And I think that I have to fight against that because I don't want to give up because it's something that I want to do, but I do want to also guard the artist in me. The artist part of me, I don't want to be the business person. Sort of like I have a split personality and I have to kind of become a business person to deal with the clients because the artist part of me cannot deal with clients. This is my personal experience. I think other people have different views on this, but this is just mine. I really believe that the artist, my inner artist, is about creating stuff that she loves. That's it. She just wants to create stuff that she loves, period. Then the next level up is sort of like a service, like something that, and then it's learned, like something that I know works or that I've seen that looks good. And then I've thought about putting different things together and hybriding them together. And that's my take. So that's my professional take on the whole thing, right? So then there's my original just artist that's pure. Then there's the next level of my taste and my experience and what I think would work and look good. But it's still really my perspective as a person, as an artist. It's very subjective. And then there's a part of me that's just straight business. You ask for a 5-minute video. Here's a 5-minute video. It clicks all the boxes. So what's up? It's there's another part of me that can just be very, very straightforward and linear about it. But that part of me that's linear about it is totally different than the part of me that's an artist. And the part of me that's an artist needs to be kind of respected and not messed with too much. So one of the things, the reason why I thought it was interesting, because I wanted to record this 2 weeks ago, and the topic about the dream versus the reality of the dream, the dreamed dream versus the reality dream. And the reality dream doesn't have to be a negative thing. It just is what it's actually is. That's what it is. And sometimes it's because of our own shortcomings. Maybe there's something in me. I'm not as great as I thought I was until I went into business for it. And then I realized, man, I don't really know that much about graphics for videos. And if I want to be better at what I'm doing, especially with the kind of clients that are coming to me, I really need to learn how to do graphics, or I need to find some graphics people and, outsource or whatever, but I need to figure that out. And so I'm going to be really uncomfortable for a while until I figure that part out, right? So I have been pushing myself lately, and well, first of all, it was raining a lot, as you guys know, because I was telling you a play-by-play of the rain. And then when it was done raining, all my projects, I had 3 video projects. They were all outdoor video projects, and a website project that involved another video and pictures. So all of that was all outdoor stuff, and it all hit me at once. So it was I had to do all of this work. Well, there's a limit on my creativity and what I can actually genuinely give towards any creative project. It's not like any other business where you can just push yourself and you'll do it. It's not like that. Art is not like that. I can push myself and finish a video for a client, but the artistic part of it that feels inspired inside of me has a limit on what it can do. That the professional, though, and this is where it is important that you become a professional, can continue to work even after the inspiration has ebbed away, because it is not always going to be there, but I still have deadlines. So I still have to push myself. So I've learned to sort of act artistically out of memory of what I know I like. But I don't feel inspired. I'm not coming from this vision of something. I'm more just doing a job. And so I had a lot of things hitting at the same time. So I started doing all those different jobs, and my inspiration would sort of ebb and flow in and out, just because it was just so many hours of working on things that I just could only have that genuine excitement or vision for stuff for so long on each project. So anyways, so I was pushing myself, and then I had some friends come in from out of town that I haven't seen in a long time, and we've been talking about them coming in town for a long time. So that was really important to me. So I just basically made an executive decision as the entrepreneur of the owner of the podcast and everything else, that I would not record my podcast that week. Because also the other thing was I was using so much of my creativity on all these projects all at once that when it came time to recording my podcast, I didn't have that energy. And I usually have to have that energy before I press record. I have to have this inspirational feeling, and then I press record. That I do have to have for the podcast. I really wanted to have that creativity, so I kind of kept waiting for it. It wasn't happening. And so, or, not waiting for it, but whenever I'd have time off, I think, well, maybe I could just quickly record the podcast episode for this week. And it wasn't working out. So this is something I've learned about going back to the blueprint for myself. I need to record multiple shows when I'm inspired, because I don't know when I'm going to get that, especially because now I do creative work as a job. And so it's always being pulled from me. So I don't know when I'm going to have that well of creativity inside of me and that insight and that energy that I put into the podcast. So when I do want to record a podcast, I'm going to record like 3 shows at once or 4 shows at once. But my thing was, I always wanted to be timely. I always wanted to do it where it felt organic, and then it wasn't some kind of forced, canned podcast thing. And so that was really important to me. So I thought, well, no, I'm going to record it every week. But see, the reality isn't matching with the dream. My dream is to record it every week and upload it every Tuesday and have it be really passionate and connected to my heart. I can't do that. That's not happening in the reality of my life because I have other responsibilities. And then on top of it, I got sick as God. I mean, I can't even believe how sick I got. I don't know if you can still hear it in my voice. This is the tail end of it. But I got so sick last week, and I thought it was allergies or whatever. And then it just turned out to be like this massive sickness. I don't know what it is, some kind of cold with massive coughing. But the thing is, like, I didn't plan for all that. Like, I couldn't even talk before now. My throat was so messed up. My voice was so messed up. So the dream is like this great idea of me always like, oh, I'm totally ready to record. And there's this whole Zen moment, and I'm recording and you guys love it and I love it and it's wonderful. But the reality is I have clients. It's raining outside. Now it's not raining. I got to get outside and film all day long. Then I got to log footage. Then I got to be editing. Then I got to be working on a website. Then I got to be taking photos. Then I got, and then I'm coughing, and then I can't breathe. And then I'm in the doctor. And then, so it's like, how am I supposed to record the podcast in that? So instead of just saying, oh, well, this is the way it's going to be. No, it's not. Because one thing I wanted to do, and I told you guys this before, was to be a dependable every Tuesday podcast. And guess how many Tuesdays I've missed since I started? So I should have made that sound because now I'm coughing again. But, I don't want to miss Tuesdays. So how do I not miss Tuesdays, but also still live my life and honor that creativity? How do I do that? So the way that I do that is I stack shows. And I've had, Kathy Heller of Don't Quit Your Day Job. I'm part of her podcast group. And everybody in there is like, you got to record multiple shows. And I'm like, I know. I knew it in the back of my mind. I was like, that's a good idea. But I couldn't picture how that was going to work out for me. I still don't completely, because I kind of give like so much to each show that I'm thinking, oh my God, could I really record more than one show in a day? I think I probably could, as long as I made it very separate from the one before, because that's the thing. I mean, it's all kind of connected, and then it would all bleed together and blah, blah. Anyways, so yeah, and I always intended on stacking interviews because I still have a couple interviews that I haven't rolled out. So the point is that the reality of my dream for this podcast is telling me I've got to do something different because it's not aligning with what I want, you know? So I am going to stack record. I'm going to record multiple shows, and then I'll just put an intro on it that is fresh and different and for that week. So when I'm about ready to, when I'm editing it and I'm putting it all together for that week, I'll just quickly record something. That way I don't have to dig deep into the most creative parts of myself. I could even listen to it so I'm inspired by what I'm talking about, and then I'm in the moment of that particular podcast, and then that's the intro and the outro. That I can do. So there I am with the reality of the podcast. So is there something that you don't like about your dream? Something that makes you feel totally discouraged and unhappy when you think about it? Let's pull it out and put it on the table. Sounds weird, but put it on the table and let's look at it and let's analyze it and let's make sure it's actually something that is bothering you. Or is it just something that you need to grow from? Is it something that you need to... Are you out of your comfort zone for a good reason, or is there something wrong with the blueprint of your dream? Let's look at that and let's go in deeper and let's try to figure that out. Because, like I said before, your dream is meant to make you happy. It should be something that lights you up. And if you can't find that place and adjust it accordingly so that you're lit up from this and given energy from your dream, then there's something wrong and there's some adjustments that need to be made. And I'm not saying you won't go through a growing pain or learning curve. There's going to be times where it's really hard, and I'm not talking about that. It should feel worth it. It should feel like at the end of the day, you're like really glad you're doing it. Like, I don't know, this is crazy, and right now it doesn't feel very good, but I'm really glad I'm doing this. And, another problem that people get into is the whole grass is always greener thing. They think everything's going to be perfect if they do that other thing, whatever it is. So you might have had, a really long time where you worked at an office job and it wasn't good at all. And then you're finally able to start the business that you wanted to start, but you're kind of putting too much pressure on it now because you're thinking maybe you're thinking that this has to be perfect. This has to be the antithesis of my office job. And in reality, everything in life has its hard parts, There's nothing in this physical world that we won't, that's perfect, that isn't without anything bad, We're always going to have something that isn't the greatest about it. And the trick is to have it be worth it. It doesn't have to be wonderful all the time, but it has to be worth it. Do you love going to farm stands and buying fresh from the farm produce? Do you have to pull over on road trips to pet a cow? No? Okay, maybe that last part's just me. Regardless, we can all agree on our love for all things agriculture. And how about art? Don't you love watching films about artists, painters, singers, dancers, musicians? Coming in September is the Ag and Art Film Festival in Vacaville, California, and they are open for entries. So if you have a film, a narrative, a documentary, a short, or a feature, if you're a student or if you're a pro, this is your chance to show your film to the world. And by the world, I mean Vacaville, California. But still, it's going to be awesome. Visit agandartfilmfestival.com for more information, and you can submit your film exclusively on filmfreeway.com. Make sure before you give up on your dream, if you're giving up on your dream, that you've really thought about the other thing that you think is going to be better. Because sometimes, it's like we get tired, like boxers when they're boxing each other in the ring and then they just start hugging each other. I always thought that was so funny. But they're so tired that they're willing to rest their arms on the other person because it's kind of like all they can do. Otherwise, they have to call a timeout. So it's like, I don't know why I just brought that up. The point is that I know that we get tired, and I know it's hard, and I know the road towards our dreams is really, really hard. And it gets really exhausting, and sometimes we even get burned by people, and we get let down by people, and people betray us, and there's other bad things that happen. We lose money, we lose time, something happens, someone in our life that we love that was sort of connected to our dream, they die. And there's a lot to it, right? But think about it before you give up. Think about, is this really what I want to do? Do I really want to give up? Do I just want to take a break? Do I just want days off? Do I just need some days off? Do I need some days where I can hang out with, friends and go dancing, or whatever? Like, I want to go on vacation somewhere. Like, maybe you just need minor adjustments. You don't need anything that big. And maybe if you can just make those adjustments, you'll feel so much better. Or maybe it's a bigger adjustment than minor. Maybe it's like something you really need to like revamp, from the ground up. There's some stuff you need to do. And that's fine too. But don't just give up. Like, really think about making some adjustments, because there will be a difference between the dreamed dream, and the reality of the dream. There just is. There's going to be a difference. And especially when you're first starting out, it's going to be a big difference. Like, there's only going to be moments where you're like, wow, this is really cool. But then there's other parts that are just like boring or yucky or whatever. Like for me, doing freelance video production and stuff like that, it sounds really cool. And in my mind, I always think like, oh, that'd be so awesome. But doing it is sometimes awesome. I'm very glad that I can make money at doing that, because I love to do that. I love to make videos. I love editing. I love shooting. I love being creative. I love it all. But I'm dealing with a client. I mean, I'm not making videos for myself, and that is hard. Sometimes I have breezy clients that trust me and everything's fine. But some clients have very specific visions for what they want, and they're not very good at explaining it, and that's okay. I mean, not everybody can explain, these types of invisible things, right? But for me, as a video producer, I need to know what they want. So a lot of times we'll say, okay, give me examples of videos that you like, and what do you like about it? And so you try to get something from that, but you still have to take their idea, their dream of this video project, and mix it with reality. Like we had a lot of rain, so some of my video projects were delayed. And so there were some things that weren't able to have, I wasn't able to do because of the rain. But I hope that overall it's still a great video, and that's what I strive for. And, in one of them, it actually turned out to be a positive thing, because I'm filming trees and orchards, and by all the delays that I thought were so horrible were actually perfect, because then it was like I was out there right when all the trees were blooming, and it was beautiful. And because it had been raining so much, everything was so green and so green and so blossomy and so beautiful. And it was amazing. So sometimes it can be for the better, and sometimes it's like still a little bit of a challenge. But, as a professional and just as a person in the world, you just need to keep pushing forward. You just need to keep going. That's why I always say #keep going, because if you just keep going, you're going to learn so much. You can't get hung up on one thing or the other, or be perfectionistic about it, and then it didn't work out exactly like you pictured. Like, you can't get into that stuff. You just can't. You're in this marathon. The dream is a marathon. And you're going to have moments where everything just works out and it's going to be amazing. But those moments are few and far between. Most moments, because we're in the physical dimension and we're human beings, we're doing the best we can. We're manifesting things in the best way possible. And all you can do is just grow and learn each time. Learn about yourself, learn about the reality of the physical dimension, and like, okay, so it rains and there's nothing I can do about that. And so what can I do? And like, okay, then I only have 24 hours in the day once the sun does come out. Oh, I'm sorry, not even 24. I have like 12, not even 12. It depends on where you live, right? So you only have so many hours once it does start being sunny. And so then I had that, and then I had to schedule with people and schedule with myself, because I also have to like make a living and take care of bills and, take care of groceries and, doctor's appointments, and I had other things. So given all of that, what's the best thing that could possibly come of this? And then do that, and that's really where the rubber meets the road. That's the true professional, is you take the dream of the dream and the reality of the dream, and you try to make the best possible thing. Because sometimes the dream is just an uninformed idea. And it's not always the best idea. It's just the one that got you to pursue your dream. It's just that vision got you to get started. But we're supposed to at some point stop and look around and take stock and say, I have an awesome life. I am very grateful for everything that I have. I have amazing friends, even if it's just one friend. I have an amazing friend. I live in a place where bombs are not landing on my roof right now, unless you are, and I'm sorry. But most of us listening to this are not. And I have food, and even though I don't know where money's coming from, I somehow figure it out every month. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to even be given the opportunity to pursue my dream. Some people don't even get that opportunity. So sometimes we just have to recalibrate our senses back to gratitude, initial and basic life gratitude. Because once we do that, we kind of reset everything. Because, our expectations start to kind of get out there. Like, I want to do this, and I want to travel the world, and I want to go to Paris, and I want to buy my mom a condo. And you have all these ideas, and it's like, great, and it's good. And for me, I'm very ambitious. So my dreams have never been small. They're always really big, which is really exciting and wonderful when you're young. But now that I'm getting older, it kind of exhausts me sometimes. I'm thinking, oh my God, why are my dreams always so big? Because I can't always obtain them. I can't. Life has its other ideas of what's going to happen, and it feels disappointing to me. I feel like I'm a disappointment to my dreams because I can't always get there. I can't. And I was trying so hard, and there were so many close calls of things happening that could have set things up differently that just weren't happening. I was getting so exhausted from that I just wanted a break, but I could never figure out how to get a break. And then Derek died. And then Michael died. And then Christina died. And then my dog died. And then 3 other people that are really important to me died. So it's like, we have dreams and we have things that we pursue, but then there's life and there's things that we have nothing to do with, that have nothing to do with us at all, that are just part of the world. And I don't know what it is. Is it karma? Is it whatever? I don't know. We can all speculate. I obviously speculate on it all the time. That's what everything is, It's like, for me, it's like, I love to talk about it. But at the end of the day, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It is a thing on my path that I have to deal with. And I have to sort out, do I ignore it? Do I, am I happy about it? Am I not happy about it? What am I going to do about it? And so that's what I work on. And that's what I try to figure out. And I just want you to just think about it a little bit more. Picture the blueprint of your dream and know that the reality of you going for your dream, you just being out in the world, is going to change your dream. It's going to, because you're in it now. You're on that path and you're part of it. So I keep picturing blood, because blood in our veins is blue, but then once it mixes with oxygen, it turns red. I don't even know if that's true, but I think I've heard that. So it's like oxygen is reality. And so our dream is perfect until we go for it. And then once we go for it, our dream isn't perfect anymore, because now we've got reality mixed in. We've got the reality of our situation, the reality of maybe our personalities. Maybe we're not as outgoing as we thought we were, or that we need to be for our careers. Or maybe we're not as talented as we thought we were. Maybe in our mind's eye, we're this amazing artist that can just whip out stuff, whenever they want. And then when it comes down to it, we actually are very, have all these precise needs. I cannot paint before 8 a.m., but the studio's only open until 8 a.m., or whatever. So it's like, there's just life that's going on. And because of that, the dream will never be as perfect as it is when it's unlived. It never will be. But that's okay, because who cares if it's this perfect thing that's never touched? There's something kind of awesome about going for your dream and just trying to do something awesome. So many people just phone in mediocre life. They just do the basic elements of what needs to be done. And they don't push for anything more than that. They're happy to just have that. They're like, yeah, it's cool. It's good enough. It's good enough. It's like, no, when you're doing your dreams, that it's got to be great. And it is painful. And sometimes it does make me want to give up, because it doesn't look like or feel like what I had in my mind's eye. But the alternative is not an alternative for me, because if I don't go for it, then I know that I know the secret that my dream isn't actually as perfect as I thought it was. So no matter what I dream, I know now that it's this amazing, perfect thing, but it's not reality. What all of us really want is to have like a better life. So we want our life, if we do go for our dreams, to be like that thing that we imagine. And so when it's not like that, it is hurtful. It hurts. It's painful. It sucks. And sometimes I think it dips down into our fear at the core of who we are, that maybe we're not special, or we're not important or perfect or great or meant for greatness or whatever. And I think it dips into such a deep fear that's inside of us that most of us just avoid this issue altogether. We just don't even want to know anything about it. I do believe that following our dreams is really the only thing that we need to do in this lifetime. We'll love people, try to understand ourselves and understand others, be good to people, and pursue that thing that you picture. Pursue it. I just feel like that's like the only thing. Like that's it in my mind. And I might be crazy, but I'm not the only one, man. I'm just kidding. It's this cough medicine and allergy medicine and kicking it in. So just ignore me. Don't ignore me. Listen to me. This is my podcast. And even though I'm sick, I still have a voice, sort of. And, no, but seriously, like, I really do believe that it's the only type of thing that's worth it is to go for it. Because if you don't go for it, it's just sitting there and it's like unopened. It's ungone for. It's almost like a gift. And if we don't open it, I don't know. But I get it. I get the allure of wanting to keep something perfect where it's never been, bothered by anything. But I guess I'm just not that type of person. I don't like illusions. I like things to be real. And I actually believe that real things can be great and great things can be real. And I don't need them to stay in some glass box on a shelf in my life to have it be great. I really believe that if I push myself out there, I can make this great. I can make this dream of mine great. I don't know how yet. And sometimes when I figure it out, 5 minutes later, I got to figure it out again because there's a new thing going on. But that's okay. Because there are moments where I sit there and go, wow, this was because of me. I did this. I made this choice to go down this road and to live this dream. I did this. And it makes me feel so good, better than any sitting around staring at a glass box on my shelf could ever do for me. Because that eventually wears off. In the beginning, you're probably like, yeah, that's my dream. And isn't it awesome? It's so perfect. In that glass box on the shelf, it's like absolutely perfect. But after a while, you're going to be like, yeah, there's my dream in the glass box, untouched, unchallenged. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And people might come over and go, wow, look at your dream. But when you get older, people kind of look at you like, how come you never opened it up? How come you just kept it in the glass box? Why'd you do that? And so it's not really impressing anybody. And if it doesn't excite you, then break open the glass box and get to it, man. Like, try. Do something. I mean, we don't even know how long we're going to be alive. We don't even know how long our lives are. So why not try? Just give it a shot. You never know. Something really amazing might come of that. And worst case scenario, you just become a better person because you have to face all these things head on instead of eventually in some way or another. That's the thing about living your dream is that you deal with so much reality. It comes at you so much, so hard, so fully that it's not something you can avoid or sidestep. You have to deal with it. And that's something I'm actually grateful for. I get exhausted about it. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I get really sick of it and I'm overwhelmed and I'm tired and I need a break. But overall, I'm grateful because I know I'm facing things that make me a better person. All right, guys, I hope you got something out of today. I'm still kind of in like a cough medicine, allergy medicine haze, but I hope that the message comes through that there is the dreamed dream and then there's the reality of the dream, and they will be different. And I don't really even think the goal is to make the reality of the dream like the dream, but maybe it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But go back to the blueprint. If your dream is not making you happy, you're no longer living your dream. Something's gone off the rails somewhere. You're doing this for somebody else or for some other reason. Like maybe because everyone helped you and so you feel obligated and you're just continuing it, but you hate it. That's not your dream. abort. Like, that is not what you're supposed to be doing. Go back to your blueprint, figure out what went wrong, because you are meant to be happy. You're meant to be excited by life and fulfilled and engaged and, like, alive. It should be lighting you up. And if it doesn't do that, go back to the blueprint, man. Go back to the blueprint, because there's something wrong. There's some kind of screw loose or something somewhere. And it's not because the dream is wrong or because you're not meant to be happy. No, you are meant to be happy. You are meant to fulfill your dreams. You're meant to fulfill that thing that's inside of you. And that thing that's inside of you is sort of like in an instruction book of telling you, like, this is what you should be doing. And if you follow it, you will eventually get there. But also there's going to be a lot of back and forth between just things that weren't planned for in the blueprint. Like, you can have a whole idea of what your dream is going to be, but you don't know, like, for instance, for me with all this rain, you don't know that you're going to get sick. You don't know that people are going to die in your life. You don't know that there's going to be big layoffs at the company, that you were relying on that day job so you could build your dream. There's just so many things that are out of our control that are going to happen, and that's the reality. And if you can work with reality and your dream, go back and forth. Like, what do people do when they balance their checkbooks, right? People don't really do that anymore, but they used to, like, sit there and, like, try to figure out, make sure that every single thing that's come out of their account matches what should be there so that they know exactly how much money is in their account. So that's what I'm saying to do with your dream. Go back and make sure that what you're shooting for is equaling and lining up with the reality. And if the reality is pulling you down too hard and you're unhappy and you're struggling and every day is a major hassle and you don't even like any of this stuff anymore, you're doing too much reality. You got to get more dream back into it. And if you're just really fluffy and maybe you're not making any progress, I think it's because you're not really dipping down enough in reality and really digging your feet into the earth. So go back and forth until you find yourself moving forward on this. But make sure you're growing and make sure you're engaged and make sure you feel alive. That's how you know that you're in the right spot, I think. I'm not sure. That's what I'm guessing this week anyways. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys next week, because the adjustment to my blueprint is I'm stack recording. So no matter what happens, I'll always have a couple recordings in the can so that I can put those out in case something happens in my normal schedule. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great week. And yeah, if you want to send me an email, I'd love to hear from you guys. I have Dreams Dammit at gmail.com. And if you have show ideas or if you just have a question, I will answer you. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Bye-bye.